So have you been following some of this stuff on YouTube, maybe in the news, that has you a little worried about the Treasure Valley? Well, let's dive into that next. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here. And today I have an important topic to go over, and that's some information, maybe misinformation that we're seeing on the internet. Obviously not on this channel, right? Anyway, speaking of this channel, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and share it with others. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And also, it's super important. If I'm going to be able to help you, you're going to have to give me a call, send me a text, send me an email, whatever it is. Stop by and see me in the morning. Let's go for coffee, something. But you're going to have to reach out so I can help you. And we've got some great videos coming up on the different ways that me and my team, Treasure Valley Steven, Treasure Valley Marine, can actually help you out and answer some of your questions. You'll find out whether maybe the Treasure Valley is right or wrong for you, but you're not going to know until you get some information in. So please give us a call. Contact information is below in the description. So today, what are we going to talk about? Well, there's this guy on the internet. I'm not even sure what his name is, but it's with reventuresconsulting.com. And he's got this video that came out a week or so ago. And in this, the name of this video is, you can see up there, the housing crash 2021 starts here. I'll set up the premise for you. He's looking at all this data from two places, Zillow and Realtor.com. And from this, he's decided that before the end of this year, all of the housing in the United States, the whole market in the entire country is going to crash, and it's going to start in Boise. That's his premise. That's what he says clearly throughout his video. And he said Boise is going to be the first. Other places are going to still be looking strong, but they will eventually fall like dominoes. Boise's the epicenter of the next housing crash. Is that right? Let's find out. All right, let's hear what he has to say about Boise. He's not going to call it out by name yet. He's going to tease that just a little bit. Let's see what he says.
Inventory is very, very tight. Other cities are turning into big buyers markets, actually. And there's one city in particular which is on the doorstep of a housing crash.
Boise's on the doorstep of a housing crash. And compare this to some of the other things he's going to say in a little bit. You got to think that he's like contradicting himself several times in major things throughout. Let's move on to the next point. So as a prelude to this crash, we're seeing a lot more listings, a lot more inventory coming on the market. Check it out.
Fresno is starting to see more listings, and Stockton is starting to see more listings. But really, no market in America is seeing the type of inventory surge that Boise, Idaho is. Or I should say Boise. There's no Z in it apparently. It's not Boise, it's Boise. Boise. 34% increase in active listings year over year. An absolutely massive surge in inventory through late July 2021 compared to late July 2020.
So he's saying that we have more inventory and so more houses coming on the market. But what is the reason for some of that? So here, Mr. Dude is saying that in his chart that he's got this information from Zillow, is that here in 2021, we are at record high prices. And this isn't just Boise, but this is everywhere in the country. So I just want to kind of pick your brain with this. So this goes back a long ways. We saw this crash down here, and we by now all know exactly what caused that. And then we kind of came back, and we've been chugging along here since like 2015. And then all of a sudden, within the last year, we've spiked up to levels we've never seen before. So help me remember what has happened in the last year and a half. Oh, that's right. Something that's never happened before at all is COVID. So what did that do? That kept everybody at home. That kept people from going to work to, well, among other things, to make products that go into building houses. But before we get to that point, we talked about inventory a little bit ago, and so why has inventory been going up? Well, when the market crashed here, builders stopped building, and it was only once it looked again to be profitable for builders that more builders got in. So by the time we're over here, we're still years worth of inventory short of what we need to have. And that we stayed fairly stable through this period is kind of a testament to, our economy, that, we didn't just, crash or do this any sooner than we did. It really took this event of COVID to push us way up here. And COVID also, kept people at home, completely disrupted supply lines. And, it could be the smallest little thing that keeps a house from being completely built. Like, there's one builder that for a while couldn't get the black gas lines that come into the house for, your stove or your furnace. And without that, you just cannot move forward. It's the same with your vinyl fence, of all things, or your vinyl windows. This here there's a justification for that. This is not just wild exuberance that has pushed these prices up here. And let me ask you this too. Since the beginning of this year, like right there in January, so we were probably right about here. Maybe we're going to start leveling off a little bit. What happened then? That's right. We had an inauguration and a new president. Tell me what's happened in these few short months since we've had that president. Fuel prices have doubled, food has gone up. But let me ask you this. Everything that it takes to build a house, how does it get to where your house is? It comes on trucks and trains. And that takes fuel. Oh yeah, fuel prices doubled in this area. And there's some places, and California, maybe they've even more than doubled. So this is not just wild market forces that no one could explain. These are very explainable. And so you put it into a context like that, it's like, well, you would expect nothing less. Let's move on to see what he says. So now Mr. Dude here is going to be talking about some comparisons between Boise and some other places across the country. And he picked Raleigh, North Carolina. And at one point he says that it's kind of a placeholder for all the rest of America that's not Boise.
For you to make the right decision about whether now is the time to buy or to wait. And so let's look at home price month over month appreciation again, but we're going to look at two specific cities. We're going to look at Boise, Idaho, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And so that's what we're looking at here on this graph.
That's what we're looking at here on this graph. This is all the way back to 1995, and it looks pretty much the same accord that we saw with the national trends on the previous chart. What the guy here is pointing out is that Raleigh is, he's pointing out the difference between where Boise in the yellow and Raleigh in the blue lie, and that in essence that Raleigh is about 6 months behind Boise. So what's going on in Boise 6 months later-ish is going to happen in Raleigh. So what could be part of that? We remember back in the old days that everything that happened first happened in California or New York on the coast and then came inland. Well, I would think this time, from what I've seen and heard, is that a lot of the people that have taken to being frustrated with their local governments in New York, that those people are kind of staying along the East Coast down into Florida. What we've seen a lot of out here in the West is people that are, say, frustrated with California or Portland or Seattle. They are moving to other great places, but still at this end of the country. Maybe Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and obviously the Boise, Idaho area. All right, so now Mr. Drew's going to tell us how Boise is a predictor of the crash across the entire country. Let's check it out.
Why am I paying so much attention to Boise here? It's a small metro. A lot of you might not even know where it is. You can point it out on a map. But it's extremely important to understand what Boise's doing if you want to understand what the U.S. housing market is going to be doing in 6 months.
How so?
Because in the way that Boise was ahead of Raleigh by 6 months in appreciation, it's going to be ahead of the rest of America by 6 months in terms of depreciation and in terms of having a crash.
Oh.
The crash is going to show up in Boise first. It's going to show up in the next couple months as the rest of America is still increasing its home prices. And so you're going to see national home price data still looking strong in July, August, September, October. But you're going to see certain cracks in the ship in certain markets like Boise, where prices are going to start going down. And those price declines are going to be predictive of what's going to occur in the rest of America going forward. And that's why Boise needs and deserves your attention, even if you're somewhere halfway across the U.S. Because what happens in Boise is going to happen everywhere else just 6 months later.
So, Mr. Dude, what is it that it's going to happen in Boise? Please tell.
If you want more proof, let's take a look at inventory. So what we're looking at on this graph is the year-over-year change in active inventory in Boise, the yellow line, in Raleigh, the blue line, over the last couple years. What I really want to point you to is the decline in inventory that Boise had starting in the summer of last year, but really, in the late summer into the fall, when by, let's just say, November in Boise, inventory was down by 75% year over year, which is absolutely crazy. Since then, inventory flatlined, and then in Boise, it has shot up like a rocket. And inventory in Boise is going to keep skyrocketing over the next couple months as more and more delayed listers come to market, as more and more buyers go on buyer strike, as more and more people leave the city because it's gotten so expensive. Inventory is going to keep going up, keep going up, keep going up, and eventually prices are going to go down.
Inventory. Boise's had a lot of inventory, a huge increase in inventory. And he said, did you hear the last thing he said? That there's going to be so much inventory that we're going to have a glut on the market and that prices are going to crash because there won't be enough demand to fill all the inventory. This is what he said. And then he said, obviously, that Raleigh's going to be behind it. Let's look at a couple things here. So last year, COVID, right about here, people staying home, supply chains are screwed up. Things are finally getting a little stabilized, and then we start to get maybe a little bit more normalized, and we start to, builders, have half the material for a house. Well, now they're getting the other half. So now they can start building, and building they are. Another thing that we found during this time too was that builders that used to build, custom or semi-custom homes, which means that the buyer can go in and pick out the various different specific things in a house, those builders switched to making spec homes. And what that meant is that the builder got to pick all the different things that went into the home. Let's say if you were a semi-custom, you wanted, a Granite X model, but they couldn't get it. But the builder can go with Granite Y model and still finish the house, still sell the house. But if you were the buyer having this custom house built, that's the Y isn't what you wanted. You wanted the X. So that's why those builders went to building only spec homes. Oh, guess what happens when you're building spec homes? You had these homes already started, materials somewhat in the supply line. Now the rest of the materials are showing up. We have all this inventory. So we had not only just like regular spec homes being built, but a whole new glut of homes that would otherwise not have been spec homes coming onto the market. Plus we had all this pent up demand. Everyone's holding their breath to see what's going to happen with the COVID or the government restrictions and things like that. So at this point, people are starting to relax a little bit, make decisions that they have been putting off for an entire over a year. So this is why that we have inventory going up. But what about demand? Should we have demand as well? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look at what Mr. Dude says next. So, Mr. Dude, tell us about Boise.
So many people moving to this city and that the housing market will never get better. Just think about Boise. Think about what happened in Boise, which, by the way, is actually the #1 job growth and #1 migration metro in America. That's right. Boise grows jobs and it grows inward migration more than any other city in the U.S. And despite all of that inward demand,
Despite all that, what's going to happen? So you just said Boise is the number one place for job growth, number one place for inward migration. So that sounds like the makings for strong demand, right? So, but you said we had too much inventory, but now you're saying we have very strong demand. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. You know what? He's going to tell us right now how it all crashes. So let's check this out.
so here's where the rubber meets the road in trying to understand how this is going to convert into a housing crash, is that when home prices go up really, really fast, like the 2% per month in the US more broadly that we looked at, or the 3% in Raleigh, or the 4% in Boise, when they go up that fast, they are pricing people out of the market. More and more people are saying, hell no, I'm not buying a home right now. More and more people in certain cities are saying, I'm out, I'm moving to other cities. And it's naturally going to reduce the demand for homes. And as you reduce the demand for homes at sky-high prices relative to wages, that creates downside, and prices will go down.
Yeah, prices are going to go down because no one's going to be moving here because prices went up. So, but here's the thing though. Canyon County, the median price for a home last month in Canyon County was $52,000 more than the national median price home in the entire United States. So all these places in the United States that you'd never live on a dare, and then all these really expensive places, and all these places in humid and bug-ridden and snake-ridden and places like that that you'd never want to go to, for $52,000 more, you can move to Canyon County. Ada County is higher than that right now. It's about, the median price is $125 more than Canyon County, which is why Canyon County is so much more desirable. We have more demand here. But our prices are still $125,000 less than over in Ada County. But the thing is, people are moving here. A lot of people are moving here from places where their prices, their home prices, have gone up by crazy amounts too. I mean, even Mr. Dude here is saying that, you know, Fresno is growing through the roof, almost top, I think it was like 1 or 2 below Boise. And it's like, you know, so these people's houses went up, and then they're going to come to the Treasure Valley where prices have gone up. But he's saying that there's no way that these people could move here because prices have gone up. I mean, there's just such a disconnect here. I'm not sure what to make of this. But also, as he said too, that we have record high employment or record low unemployment. I think we've got the lowest unemployment in the entire country, just a hair under 3%. There's, I saw a sign over at Carl's Jr. the other day that said for a night manager, it's over $20 an hour. I mean, that's, you know, you're not going to retire on that. But if you're looking for a place to make $20 an hour, well, there's one. There's another place over here that needs labor on a production line that builds manufactured homes. They pay over $20. I think it's about $21. Plus, they give you $1,000 sign-on bonus. So there's jobs in this area. One nice thing is with all these jobs, it's another reason that people are moving here. A lot of times their jobs have moved here. Caldwell's got an industrial park, phase 1, and it got so full they had to open up phase 2 because all these businesses are coming here. And so why are they coming here? Well, for several reasons. One is that we've got the jobs, we've got the economy. There's just this synergy of everybody coming here and working and buying and going to school and raising families that, you know, we're definitely on a path for growth. And so what does this mean? Well, there's a lot of places in this country. I come from a small town out in the Midwest, and I've seen towns kind of dry up and wither away because they just didn't have that spark of economic activity. Well, we've got the exact opposite of that here. If you're moving up here and your kids are in school and one day they're going to be graduating and setting down roots of their own and starting families of their own, they can do that right here in the Treasure Valley because we have so many opportunities in so many different ways that, you know, they can do that. They don't have to leave the nest and go hundreds of miles away just to get a job. We've got all that here. So that's how it crashes, is because we have so much inventory, prices are too high, and then nobody wants to move here anymore. But I mean, it's also, well, is it different this time? Well, let's see what Mr. Dude has to say about that.
A lot of people refuse to accept this. A lot of people continue coming up with this time is different
Those
excuses.
deniers, right?
They say, oh, inflation this time is different and thus home prices are going to go up. They say, oh, this time we don't have subprime mortgages, so home prices are going to keep going up. All of that is garbage.
So he said that all this subprime stuff from the 2005, 6, 7 era doesn't matter. That didn't matter back then. That liar loans and things like that, none of that mattered. I think it did. I think just about any thinking person in this country that has done any research on this at all knows that those elements that were in place at that time significantly contributed to that huge housing crash. And some of the things that came out of that was legislation, laws, rules that would preclude that from ever happening again. Will it ever happen again down the road, when cracks start to come in, all those laws and cronies and stuff like that? Maybe. But I tell you what, being in the industry, I see tangentially what it is that my lenders have to go through to make sure that they're compliant, and that there's not even the hint of any of those shenanigans going on that had gone on, back in the last big manufactured crisis, yeah, whatever. So let's hear what else he has to say.
Between prices, wages, and jobs, and what that is pointing to is big downside in the housing market. It's going to happen in Boise first.
So what's this guy saying? Well, exactly what he said was, quote, "The thing that matters is the relationship between prices, wages, and jobs." So wages and jobs, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the entire country. Wages are going up slightly, nice and evenly, just because employers need to pay more to be competitive, to get more people working. We're not seeing that big thing people across the country are seeing, where Joe Biden was paying people to stay home and then there's nobody to come and work. There's so many jobs here, and employers are paying more. And I'm not saying none of that happens here, but you certainly don't see it on the scale that you will in other places. Prices for homes. So prices for homes have been going up like crazy, and for some very valid reasons. And not saying that it's good or anything like that, because I want you to be able to get the best deal on a house possible. If I could get you in my DeLorean and go 88 miles an hour, we're going to go back a couple years and get you a screaming deal. But my DeLorean's in the shop, so we're going to have to deal with reality, what we have today. But we have prices going up around the country. Even places that aren't California, prices are still going up. So just because it's Boise doesn't mean that we're the only place in the entire country that's going up. And is it just because of demand that's pushing prices up? Or is it also inflation? Do you think we don't have inflation going on? Absolutely we do. And so even if it costs $52,000 more to move to Canyon County for a medium price home than anywhere else in the country for a medium price home, $52,000, but you get the quality of life here for free. That's what's so screaming important, is that there's so much economic activity. Your family, your friends, they can all have jobs here. They can all have a huge future here. There's so much to do for kids, family. When you get older and you just want to go out for a nice leisurely walk or hike, there's so many things to do with that. And one of the great things is the people up here are so friendly. And half the people came from someplace else, but it was the friendly ones. So, is there going to be a crash? No, so this guy's kind of contradicting himself all over the place, and basically he had three assertions. He said that there's one, way too much inventory, And I say that there's the inventory that we have is where it is for many reasons, and it isn't necessarily the prelude to a crash. We have too much inventory because we didn't have materials before. You remember that chart where we were just stuck down here at the bottom, everyone's holding their breath, then the supply chains start to open up. You remember lumber prices went to record highs and then they came back down. So it's like builders are oh, and then also the semi-customs turning into specs, which adds to the inventory. Then he says that there's way too little demand. Way too little demand. For up here, I mean, we haven't seen that. And as we're going to have such strong demand up here as long as Washington, Oregon, and California are Marxist paradises. There's people that are just to the point, they're at the end of the rope, and they want to come to a nice place where people live conservative lives. And as long as those three states are like they are, we're going to always have demand right here in the Treasure Valley. So we're seeing just slightly over asking, and we're not seeing as many multiple offers. And I think some of that might be buyer fatigue. Some of that might be just the natural rhythm of that, you know, people are either on vacation or getting ready to send the kids back to school. It's the time to move, which would have been like in May-ish. That's come and gone. So, and then things typically will kind of calm down. And through the holidays, people aren't necessarily wanting to put their house on the market. So prices are starting to soften a little bit. I won't say they're coming down. I'm just saying that they're not escalating at the same rate as they used to. And wages are going up. So prices are kind of moderating, wages are going up, which is just kind of throws this guy under the bus, doesn't it? He said that all of these things are going to lead to a housing crash in Boise, which sparks off a housing crash throughout the entire country. I mean, you just think about that for a minute, and it's just preposterous. Preposterous. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd really like to know what you think about this. Put some of your ideas in the comments below, and let's get a good discussion going on. If you're going to say, hey, you know what? This guy's going to scare people away, gives me a better chance of getting that perfect home, give me a call. Reach out, text, call me, send me an email. Contact information is below, and I'd love to help you figure out if this is the right place for you to be. I've got myself, Treasure Valley Dave, Treasure Valley Marine, Treasure Valley Stephen. We've all made that relocation journey, and we all have experiences that are going to help us help you even better. So definitely reach out and give us a call, text, email, smoke signals. I don't care. If you want to come up here, just give me a call. So if you found this video interesting, please go ahead and share it with somebody else that needs to see this. And like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Coming out with new videos all the time. And everyone's a little different, and everyone's absolutely educational. And you get more of a feel for what's going on in the market or in our little communities or whatever, but it's very important that you go ahead and subscribe. And as always, this is Treasure Valley Dave, looking forward to helping you get home.